Welcome to Brobench videos. In this video, we're going to go through miscellaneous tools module and within that specifically Auth Checker tool within that particular module. Miscellaneous tools or MISC tools is a set of tools that doesn't fit into any other functional modules, but it is still essential, as we interact and work with Salesforce in terms of, the using data or integrating and various other things. So it has two tools right now, the text tool. So go through the text tool in a help to understand what it can do. It has a great set of text manipulation capabilities. And then we have a Auth Checker. So the Auth Checker is used to check your credentials and the tokens that are essential to integrate with Salesforce. So the reason we added this capability is that so that you can securely test those credentials as you do your integration without providing this to any third party service. I mean, there are a lot of online tools, where they take username and password and check if it is valid, but that is very not secure because you don't have the trust of what they are going to do with that particular credentials and all that. So the tools here within a Brobench, they're 100% local. The information is not sent to any other third party or even our own services, the Datasert API endpoints. So they're exclusively used to connect to Salesforce appropriate URL. And this information is not saved anywhere. So the next time you load up, they're all going to be empty except the domain name, which actually keeps the history uh, so that it is 100% secure, secure way to test those things. With that said, there are multiple tools here. So for example, we have username and password tool. We have an access token. We have a OAuth client credentials, OAuth username, password, OAuth refresh token. So these are the different ways that you can integrate with Salesforce. And we have included some of the predominant or the most used ones. So there is another one that we haven't included, OAuth web server flow, because that needs a user need to authenticate and grant access and all that. So we haven't included that. But if it is something that you guys needed, we can think about adding that. So username and the password, as name indicates, uses the old style SOAP login API. So you just need the username and the password and optionally the token to connect to your org and provide the service. So the typical uses is that you select the type, you enter the details, and you click on check. So that will try to make a call to the API. And if there is any issue, it will show the message, what are the error that you are getting. And if there is a response, it will show the typically JSON response in this particular part of the screen. For example, let's say I'm going to make some wrong username and try to click on it. Okay. Uh, so you can see that it's trying to process. Okay. So it gave an error. So login to connection sandbox using username, invalid login. So first of all, this is a developer credential, so we should have selected production. So make sure that you select appropriate archetype before checking. So then you can go and click one more time. So still it is error because we made a wrong username. So if you go and remove that and then do the check, so voila, so you get the details. Okay, so it shows this particular the username and the password. Okay, so I know this is at the time of recordings, we have the session ID that is shown, but it is configured to expire in 1 hour. So by the time you publish this, session IDs are going to be invalid. Okay. Uh, so so this is a way you can use it. Okay. So the next step, when you select a particular option, we have this URL that you can click on, open Salesforce help. So it will open appropriate Salesforce page for this particular method of authentication. For example, in this case, we have selected username and the password. You can click on it. That opens a Salesforce login page because this is authentication mechanism that we are using in that particular case. Similarly, if you select an access token and select this new option, so it will open that user info API. That is the API that we are using to get the information when you enter the session token. Okay, let's see how that works. So we have this, for example, the URL, and then so now if you look at this, it takes a domain. So this is actually this is a domain that we want to enter, and then as well as the access token. So this is access token, which is it's also known as session ID in some context. You can enter that. and then it will bring up the information. So this basically invokes the user info API and then shows all the responses that is returned. So of course, if you make any mistake here, if you enter a wrong information, okay, so it's ignoring that. So let's say enter a different domain, so that is not going to be valid for sure. Salesforce has a kind of lot of checks in place. If you make a more miscellaneous, changes to the access token, it will autocorrect actually sometimes. So you keep that in mind. Okay. So then if you just enter a wrong domain, obviously this is not a valid access token for that particular domain. So you're going to get an error. And if you specify the correct domain, you're going to get the response back. Okay. So now similarly, let's say we check the OAuth client credential. Okay. So the OAuth client credential flow is used with a combination of a OAuth and as well as identifying the OAuth connected user in your org side. So this particular client credential is used for server, for your own internal tools, by the way, or any other server interaction where you can connect to Salesforce org using just the client side, client ID and the client secret. It essentially acts as username and the password, and then it identifies with a particular the user on the org side, and then so you log in as that particular user. So in this case, we have filled in client ID and the client secret, so that is applicable for this particular domain. I think this particular domain. Okay, so there's a different dev org. So if you go and check it, no client user enabled. So I think I have to enter a correct one. Okay, so let's see if I can go and enter correct client ID and the client secret. See if we can make that work. Still it is showing as invalid. Okay, so now it comes back with this information. But again, I know we are viewing the access token here, but access token is very short-lived information that actually gets invalidated. So by the time we publish this video, this access token will be invalid. So okay, so that is a OAuth client credential. So basically, you can authenticate using the client ID and the client secret, and this client ID in your org actually connected to a particular user. So you log in as that particular user for any of the API interaction. Okay, so you can click on the help again, and then you can see that it takes to the more details about client credential flow in the OAuth. So the next one is the OAuth username and password. So it is similar to client credential, but it is actually for third-party client credentials to connect to different org. So in this case, we need to provide the username and the password. So this org username and password belong to the org type, which is the org that you have chosen. And then client ID and the client secret is it could be any valid client ID, client secret. It doesn't have to belong to this particular org, right? So then you can use that to authenticate. So keep in mind, you still have to provide token if your token is mandatory for your user in your org. But if you provide all of that information and check, actually you would be able to. Okay, authentication failure. Okay, let me see if I can enter correct. Okay, so maybe we'll try with a different client ID, and then see if that helps. Okay, so I think we have some client ID mismatch and all that. But okay, so you get the idea. You can specify all of this information and then it shows the details. The OAuth refresh token. So this is the mechanism where you have a client ID, client secret, and then you have an access token that you have negotiated from any other means, typically the web server flow. And then you want to check if the refresh token is valid for your own testing purpose. So you can go and actually specify that refresh token and that information, and then it will be able to try to get a new access token. And if refresh token is valid, Salesforce would return that new access token. Okay, so let's go and enter the refresh token and check it. Okay, so looks like refresh token has been expired, so we will have to really get a new refresh token to get that. But if the refresh token is valid, you would actually get similar to the response of whatever you see in the client credentials or in other places that includes an access token. Okay. So this is about Auth Checker. So I know there are a couple of other mechanisms within which you can connect to Salesforce. So, but we haven't included because it's a little bit more complicated, because it includes opening a browser, authenticating, or granting access, so on and so forth. But if you think that will be really essential for your testing, let us know, and we'll be happy to include. Okay. Thank you.